geography optional second paper. Remember that geography optional has multiple uses in the several sections of the GS mains 2. Like geography as a GS section is part of the first paper of the GS, which largely contain history and geography and the social issues, and certain sections of the geography are also included into the third paper like agriculture, some of the aspects of economic geography of India, some of the aspects of environment and ecology, and disaster management. So remember that scope of geography optional is extending up to 750 marks out of 1750 marks of the mains written examination. Because geography optional also contribute into understanding of the some of the sections like international relation, national security. So if we try to optimize our knowledge, understanding of the geography optional, so in the multiple sections of the GS first paper like social issues and geography GS, in the third paper like agriculture, economic geography of India, environment and ecology, and disaster management, and certain aspects of international relations and national security. So we can optimize marks up to 750 out of 1750 marks allocated in the GS mains, allocated into the mains written examination. Remember that even understanding of geography optional help in GS prelims. Remember that geography as a GS, agriculture, economic geography of India, environment and ecology, and disaster management nearly cover 20 questions out of 100 questions in the GS prelims. So this is the entire scope of geography optional from the perspective of GS prelims, GS mains, and geography optional. Remember that in the first paper of geography optional, we have two main sections. First is on physical geography and second is human and economic geography. Physical geography contains climatology, geomorphology, oceanography, bio and environmental geography. So these are the 5 sections included into the first section of the first paper of the geography optional. In human and economic geography, we have geographical perspective, economic geography, then we have population and settlement geography, then we have regional planning and development, and then we have various models and the theories included into the geography. So remember that in geography optional first paper we have 8 questions. 4 questions are from the physical geography section, first section, and the 4 questions are from human and economic geography, in which first question and the 5th question are compulsory with the short notes. these are compulsory. Then we have second question, third question, and the fourth question from the first section of the physical geography, and then sixth, seventh, and eighth from the human and economic geography, that is the second section of the geography optional first paper. So remember that since first question and the fifth question are compulsory, then out of 8 questions we have to attempt 5 questions. Then rest of the second, third, fourth, sixth, seventh and eighth. Now here we have number of questions 6. So out of 6 we have to attempt just 3. So here we have multiple, means range of the choices are high, and at least 2 questions are solved from each section. Like first question is compulsory, then out of second, third or fourth we can select 1 section or 2 sections from the first section. And if we are selecting 2 sections, then from the second section we have to select, other than compulsory question, only 1 question. If we are not doing so, the first question in the first section is compulsory. Either we can select one of the question from the second, third and fourth, and then here we have to select fifth is compulsory, then sixth, seventh and eighth. Out of these 3 questions 2. So this way we can complete our 5 questions. Remember that number of the words we need to write are 750 to 5. Means in 3 hours, number of the words we need to write are 1350 words. 3750 words. These are the words we need to write in 3 hours. So in one day, our fingers, our arms and the hands must have enough strength to write nearly 7500 words in 6 hours, because second paper is also on the same day. Second paper is on Indian geography. It is also of 250 marks, and remember that second paper also has 2 sections, first and second, in which first question and the fifth question are compulsory. These are the compulsory. Then we have again second, third and fourth question in the first section, sixth, seventh and eighth from the second section. Remember that first and fifth are compulsory. Then again here we have choices. Out of 6 we have to attempt only 3. 1 at least from the each section. So in the first section we can attempt second, third or fourth. Means out of these 3 questions any 2 of, and then we have to attempt only 1 out of these 3 from the second section. Again we need to write nearly 3750 words in 3 hours, paper which is of 250 marks. So if we are opting for geography optional, we need to develop strength of writing nearly 500 words in 6 hours of a given date in which optional papers of the first and second are held. That must be strength of your fingers. Remember that when you have fun with the examination, first and foremost, we need to consider that the civil services examination which is conducted by UPSC is one of the toughest examination of the world. You have intrinsic inspiration, intrinsic motivation, then you should select to get into the civil services examination mode. Since challenges are high, so remember that capacity of the student to meet the challenge must be also strong in nature. Then you have your life, your journey in the civil services flowing. Remember that there must be a synchronized way to develop a balance, a kind of state of equilibrium between capacity and challenge. If the capacity is compromised, remember that if capacity is compromised in respect of challenge, you are going to feel anxiety, anxious all the time. And remember that none of the optional is easier, none of the optional is tough. Optional must be selected by a student on the basis of their interest, on the basis of their inclination. If someone is a good spinner, the spinner can take also a wicket, yeah, number of wickets. Fast bowlers can also take number of wickets. Depending on how you are good at spin bowling, even there are categories in the spin bowling, there are categories in the fast bowling. It is number of wickets you take dependent on your skill, either in spin bowling, yeah, either in the fast bowling, yeah, in the medium pacer, या तो ऑफ स्पिन या लेग स्पिन, डिपेंडिंग ऑन इन entire range of results in your favor are depending on capacity or strength generated by students. Students must not go by societal imagination and fantasy. While you are entering into the civil services examination, first and foremost, the criteria must be, the thing must be in your mind, it is one of the toughest examination and the asking a demand side of UPSC is too high. So we need to develop up our capacity to ensure supply according to the demand created by UPSC. Now, since geography optional means is subjective in nature. Geography optional means is subjective in nature. There is none of the question which is objective and multiple choice. We need to have writing skills and that must be adequate in terms of the number of words you write and as well as quality we maintain. So there must be adequate speed with the flow and the quality of the precise and concise sentences. So remember that subjective understanding is very important for developing writing skills, and we must take care of the both of the aspects of the writing skills. First, quantity. As I told you, each paper demands writing 3750 words in 1 hour, in 3 hours. So that must be the range of your speed, so that within 3 hours you can write between 3500 words to 3750 words, and with writing these number of the words 3 hours, we need to maintain a quality too. Quality which is going to ensure your success in geography optional, which is of 500 marks. Remember that geography optional first paper is theoretical in nature. It is loaded with the theories, geographical rules and the laws. Geography second paper, which is on Indian geography, is application of theories, rules and laws of the first paper into the geography second paper, which is related with the Indian geography. So first paper is crucial. It gives you deep understanding of the theories, rules and laws included into the geography. Now, ये आगे कैसे जाए? आगे नहीं जा रहे हैं. अच्छा प्लस. Now I am going to explain important aspects of answer writing. Let us see, and everyone who is going to join this class need to buy this PYQ geography of paper first and paper second of 36 years. It also gives you syllabus. First syllabus is written over here, and then we have PYQs of different sections, like first of geomorphology of 36 years, then climatology. So three things are very important for you. First, understanding of geography syllabus, that is given over there, and then understanding of the PYQs. So remember that we are going to cover geography optional syllabus with the 36 years PYQs, previous year's questions, because syllabus does not give us understanding of the length, width and depth of the geography optional of a given topic. Understanding of the length, width and depth of a given topic comes with understanding of the previous year's questions. These two things are most important. Don't read anything on the geography. First read syllabus, first read PYQs related with the syllabus, try to cover syllabus in the respect of the PYQs, then go for the rest of the things. In the class, we are going to suggest standard books, and topics to be studied from the standard books, rather than giving printed notes, which you know quality is always compromised. Nobody is going to give their best of the printed notes because they can be copied. They can be sold. So remember that we have to depend on the class notes, class dictation of the class, and the some of the standard books we need to follow as a backup to study. Getting this thing? Now, let us see what UPSC has given us in our instructions. Here instructions are given. This is the latest exam paper of the first paper of 2023. First instruction is there. There are 8 questions divided into 2 sections. I have already taught you in the paper first, which is of 250 marks. We have 2 sections, first and second. First is on physical geography. Second is on human and economic geography. Each section contains 8 questions, first, second, third and fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth are part of the second section, which is on human and economic geography. So first and fifth are compulsory. There are no choices in the first paper and the first question and the fifth question. So this way there are 8 questions divided into 2 sections. First, second, third and fourth question are related with the physical geography of world, and fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth are related with the human and economic geography of the world, in which first and fifth question are compulsory. Then let us read next. Candidate has to attempt 5 questions in all. Out of 8 questions, we need to attempt 5 questions out of 8 questions. So, next instruction, question number first and fifth are compulsory. These are compulsory. This is what UPSC is saying. This is, you need to buy this booklet, that is Civil Services Main Examination, New Vishal Publication, Geography, paper first and paper second, mains optional subject, topic wise trend analysis of previous question papers, unsolved, medium, that is in English. That is how much money? It is 100 rupees. It is 100 rupees. That should be with you because it is containing syllabus as well as instructions. So, first instruction, there are 8 questions divided into 2 sections that I have given. Candidate has to attempt 5 questions in all, means out of 8 questions, we have to attempt 5 questions. Question number first and fifth are compulsory. There are no choices. And next instruction, out of remaining 3 are to be attempted, choosing at least 1 question from each section. Now, since first and fifth are compulsory, out of these 6 sections, at least 1 should be coming from each section. So, like a person is doing 1 question out of second, third and fourth, then person has to attempt 2 questions out of 6th, 7th and 8th. If person is doing 1 question out of 6th, 7th and 8th, then person has to attempt 2 questions out of second question, third section and fourth question. The number of marks carried by a question part is indicated against it. Remember that every question has subsections. That is divided into number of marks as well as word limit. That is indicated into the copy. Next instruction, word limit in questions wherever is specified should be adhered to. means which our answer should not cross the word limit. Means 10% this side or that side, that could be excused. But the length of the answer must not exceed more than 10% of the specified limit. Because remember that in civil services mains examination, now we are limited by all these three. We have word limit, we have space limit, because now you have embedded copy, embedded space. Within the given space, we need to write our answers, and then time limit. So remember that knowing the word limitations imposed by civil services UPSC, very important. We have to perform within the limitations, within the restrictions imposed by UPSC. That is very important. So that was the instruction. Word limit in questions wherever specified should be ever to. Next instruction, illustrate your answers with suitable sketches, maps and diagrams wherever considered necessary. Remember that geography is geospatial. So remember that we have our geospatial representation with the help of maps, diagrams, charts and sketches. So our answer must combine number of the words with number of the maps, diagrams, charts and sketches which are considered tools of geography. So remember that tools of the geography should be attached with, connected with our answer writing. That enhances our marks in civil services geography optional. So tools are important. Tools are like soul of the geography. So body of our answer writing in term of the words, in term of the sentence must be combined with the soul of the geography, which are maps, diagrams, charts and sketches, which is written specifically in the instructions given to you in the question paper of civil services. These maps, diagrams, sketches shall be drawn in the space provided for answering the question itself. I told you, now we have embedded copy. In embedded copy itself, we have question and then the space to write our answer. So within the space given to us by UPSC, they are not going to give you extra sheets, extra answer sheets. So within the space, we need to write our answer and combine our answers which we write in terms of the words, sentence and paragraphs with suitable maps, diagrams, charts and sketches. Next instruction, attempts of questions shall be counted in sequential order. Okay, now there is questions first, its subparts, question second, subparts. Unless struck off, attempt of a question shall be counted even if attempted partially. If you are finding that your answer is wrong, your answer is out of way to the question, then you need to strike your answer clearly, strike off your answer clearly. Otherwise, it will be considered attempted. Any page or portion of the page left blank in the question cum answer booklet must be clearly struck off. Like if this is the first page, this is the second page, and you are not writing anything, it must be strike off clearly. Remember that we have columns on each side, left side and the right side. We need to write within this space. We need to write nothing in these two columns. These kind of copies according to the civil services mains are available in the market. That should be adhered by the students. Remember this. These instructions are very important. So remember that I am going to repeat once. Instructions given by civil services. First, there are 8 questions divided into 2 sections in each paper. Whether it is first paper or second paper, instructions are same for the first as well as second paper. Candidate has to attempt 5 questions in all. Out of 8 questions given to us, we have to attempt 5 questions. That is the second instruction. Means each question is going to be of 50 marks. Then question number first and 5th are compulsory. First and 5th, first question of the first section, 5th question of the second section are compulsory in nature. We don't have choices over here. Then remaining 2nd, 3rd, 5th, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th and 8th, at least one question should be solved from one section. Means if we are selecting 2 questions from the section first, then we have to attempt 3 questions from the second section. If we are selecting 3 questions from the first section, then we have to attempt 2 questions from the second sections. And remember that 1st and 5th are compulsory in nature. The number of marks carried by a question या part is indicated against it. So remember that number of the marks for each subpart of a given question also determine the word limit that we are going to discuss later on. The word limit in questions wherever is specified should be adhered to. Our answer should not cross the word limit. In a genuine situation, in a balanced situation, even if we are crossing, that should not exceed 10% of the word limit given by the question paper. Next instruction, illustrate your answer with suitable sketches, maps and diagrams wherever considered necessary. These shall be drawn in the space provided for answering the question itself. Remember that we have now embedded copy in which questions are written and the space is provided to write our answers. Like for the questions of the 10 marks, they give nearly 2 pages. Question of 15 marks, they nearly give you 3 pages. Question of 20 marks, they nearly give you 4 pages. So within the specified pages, we need to write our answer, and our answer must be combined with the suitable maps, diagrams, charts and the sketches. Attempts of the questions shall be counted in sequential order. Unless struck off, attempt of a question shall be counted even if attempted partially. If we have attempted some question, after attempting we find out that we are not going to further attempt it, then we should clearly strike off by drawing a line on our attempted answers. Any page or portion of the page left blank in the question cum answer booklet must be clearly struck off. Like there are 2 pages given to us. In these 2 columns on left side and the right side, we do not need to write anything. If we are able to write up to this, then a line must be drawn and this must be clearly strike off. Like here we can strike off that nothing is written over there. So these are the instructions given by UPSC. These are the instructions of paper 1st 2023. Now these are the tricks of the answer writing from my side. First, if there is a question, so in the light of question, we need to attempt our answer. So answer must be connected with the question. In terms of the facts and figures, we have selected to write our answer in the light of the question. So, connectivity of the answer with the question is very important. Remember that. That is why our answers must be based on the facts and the figures rather than societal imagination and perception. We need to collect geospatial, facts and figures, maps, diagrams and charts, sketches related with the question itself. So, connectivity is very important. UPSC is not going to award any mark on the fact and figures, maps and diagrams and charts and so on, which is not connected with the questions. So, connectivity is very important. So, connectivity means we need to select most important, vital facts and figures in relation to the question itself. That is why it is very important for a student to first understand the question itself. Understanding of question is very important. That is why while we are reading a question, we need to underline the question itself to find out the core idea, the core theme behind construction of the question, so that we can write our answer in the light of the core idea, core theme inside the question itself. First, we need to write the question carefully. We need to underline the core value, core parameters, core themes written within the question, and in the light of those core themes, vital themes, implicit या explicit या both within the question, our answer. So, a student must remember that this connectivity is very important. Connectivity between the question and our answer. Our answer must be restricted within the framework offered by the question. That should not exceed the framework of the question itself. Second thing is that there must be logical consistency and sequency of the sentences between the paragraphs, the idea and concept we have selected and represented with the help of maps, diagrams, charts and sketches. So, there must be logical consistency and sequencing of our answer writing that we are going to learn with the solving question itself. Third is presentation. UPSC states that our answer must be precise and concise, particularly in the geography, because in geography hardly we use flowery language. It is a subject of facts, geospatial temporal facts. So, precise and concise statements, direct sentences are important with maps, diagrams, charts and sketches as instructed by the UPSC optional paper itself. Now, fourth means the first parameter was connectivity. Connectivity between question and answer. Answer must be written in the light of the theme given into the question itself, then logical consistency and sequencing of the sentence, of the paragraphs, of the maps, diagrams and charts. Presentation must be precise and concise statements with the supported with number of maps, diagrams, charts and sketches. And finally, fourth is balance. Remember that balance is very important. Balance in answering head of the question and tail of the question. Balance between number of dimensions we are covering into our answer writing. Sometimes people too much emphasize first of the dimension and they'll write little about the second, third and fourth dimension. Remember that geography is multi and interdisciplinary in nature. Our answer writing demand inclusion of the multiple dimensions. So we must write our answer in a balanced way. There must be a balance between the number of dimensions we have selected to write our answer. And the balance between contradictions. That is also very important. Understanding of contradictions is required in analytical answers, critical analysis, critical approach into the answer writing, because in contradictions, if we are writing return, so there must be risk also. There must be a balance between return and risk. There must be a balance between the merit and demerit. There must be a balance between convention and anomaly. Output and input. Credibility and concern. So there must be balance in our answer writing. So these 4 parameters must be remembered by us in our answer writing. First, connectivity. Second, logical consistency and sequencing. Third is presentation. And fourth is balance. Remember that most important is critical analysis या answer writing. What are the parameters we need to know to align our answer according to demand of critical analysis and approach? First, I have already told you our answer must be related with the facts and figures of geospatial world. Yeah, geographical world. Our answer must not include societal fantasy and imagination, because geography is a subject of the facts. Facts which correspond to the geospatial context, situations and conditions. So, facts and figures we select to write our answer must be aligned with the geospatial context, situation and conditions rather than societal imagination and fantasy. If we are analyzing a given theory, so relevance of theory must be analyzed in terms of the time, in terms of the decade and century the theory was introduced, and its relevance in current and contemporary situation. This kind of approach, this kind of question is most important. Like so many theories we are going to study. Some were given in 18th century, some were given in the 19th century, some were given in the 20th century, first half of the 20th century, second half of the 20th century. There are trends, changing trends, 1970s, 1980s onward. So, we should know theoretical context in the time of formulation of the theory and its current and contemporary relevance in terms of its uses and utilities and its growing redundancy and irrelevance. Third is, I have already told you, the balance between the number of dimensions we have selected and the balance between, if we are writing on return, so we should write return in terms of the risk. Like many people guided by civil services aspirant, guided by societal fantasy and imagination, before understanding the challenges posed by civil services examination, jump into. They do not take the reality. It is going to be one of the toughest examination. Multiple sections are there in the 4 paper of the GS. Multiple sections are there in the optionals. How can someone dedicate their success to one teacher? So many sections are there. You need to study from the masters, person who understand the section. Even I can claim that I can teach history and polity, but that is going to be, its utility for you is going to be limited. I can teach you up to 30%, but that is not going to sufficient for you to help you to succeed the examination. If I teach you 80 to 90% of the geography optional syllabus with the PYQs, then you will be able to score 60 to 65% marks, 300 and 300 plus, 300 and above, yeah, close to 300. That facilitates you qualifying civil services. If I teach you 30% of the syllabus, you are not going to score 40%. Of course, there is going to be lag between the input and output. According to the second law of thermodynamics, people who have studied the physics, energy is consumed in the work done by a given system. That is called depreciation in the economics too. So, output in terms of the input. If there is credibility on some theories, there are concerns too. Relevance, irrelevance, yeah, you can say redundancy, extent to which a theory is relevant in the current and contemporary scenario, extent to it has become redundant. So many theories in human and geography, human and economic geography, you are going to study. Even heartland theory, rimland theory, von Thunen theory, concentric zone theory in the urban settlements. They are going to demand to understand the relevance and their redundancy. In what context and situation they have become redundant, in what context and situation they are still relevant. So critical analysis and approach requires critical mind, and critical mind need to take these parameters into account. First, our answer written according to the critical approach must be in accordance with facts and the figures related to with the geospatial word, geographical word, situation and context. We should not create, we should not write geography means societal fantasy and imagination. We should always say a big no to the societal fantasy and imagination. This is the dynamism itself. Return written in term of the risk is dynamic itself. The context, historical and geographical context, a theory was formulated, introduced, and its current relevance and redundancy. That is the dynamic nature itself. That is the dynamism. Malthus introduces his theory on the population in 1798. In the certain context, Malthus theory is relevant. In certain context, Malthus theory has become redundant. Marx Marx has also written on the population. In certain context it is relevant, in certain context it has become irrelevant. Remember, none of the subject is completely static or completely dynamic. Every subject includes its static aspect as well as its dynamic aspect. None of the person, none of the subject in this world is completely static or completely dynamic. Yes, ratio with time, ratio with geography changes. Even there are changes in the troposphere, there are changes in the stratosphere. So first we need to understand the static parameters and their interlinkages, then dynamic parameters and interlinkages. Static knowledge provides you structural understanding. Dynamic is fluid understanding. How a thing or phenomena occur or responses in the changing situation and context. Even in GS, there are static subjects, there are dynamic subjects. Even the history has dynamism. Even the economy has dynamism. Even the democracy has dynamism. Nothing is completely static. Theories, nobody memorized theories. Theories are understood. I'll teach you how to understand theories and write. Nobody is saying in my entire life, I have taken books or notes and I have come to the class. And with the dedication, everything could be understood and could be mastered. Depends on how much time you devote, quality time of course. Understanding of the situations. And then finally it comes to the finding out solution. If there is a question related with a given problem, so solution must be within the constitutional framework, constitutional limitations, politico-administrative, social, environmental, legal, whatever the limits, within the limits, we should find out the solution. That this aspect will be relevant in the second section of the first paper. And the Indian geography, which is on culture, socio, regional planning and development, environmental issues, contemporary and current issues and all that. In the physical geography, you know whether it is of India or whether it is of world, first paper. This kind of solutions are not asked. So this is going to be our approach in answer writing. First, we need to understand what critical analysis and approach is. Critical analysis and approach is not entirely about criticizing something. We are looking at the both sides of the coins. That is called the critical approach. And our answer writing must be based on the facts and the figures related with the geographical situation, context and conditions. Second, the time in terms of the decade and century theory was introduced, conditions in which theory was introduced and its current and contemporary relevance, and then balance between return with the risk, output with the input, credibility with the concerns, relevance with the redundancy, and then opportunity. If there is opportunity, there is threat, weakness, strength in relation to the weakness. So these two sides of the coins are very important. And finally, solution. If the question is related with the geographical problem, theoretical problem, so we need to find out solution, and that must be within the constitutional, legal, political, administrative, environmental, social, cultural limits. So this is the approach we are going to follow in our answer writing. Now, I am going to give you instructions on geography in general. First, a candidate selecting geography as an optional must take into account that geography is a multi and interdisciplinary subject. There are going to be multiple dimensions related with the sections and subsections of the geography and interconnections too. So we need to understand the basic parameters या parts या variables included into the sections and subsections of the geography and their interlinkages. And understanding of interlinkages provides us structural view. And once we identify the structure, understand the structure, then there is no need to memorize. Yes, of course, while we are going through the number of parameters, parts and variables, we need to memorize them. We need to keep them in memory. Every subject has their parts, variables, their parameters. Even in sociology, even in political science, there are going to be parts of a given content on political science, even given content in sociology. Parts, parameters are going to be there. That is relevant for the geography too. None of the subject matter is entirely factual, and none of the subject matter is entirely theoretical. Facts are interwoven into the theories. It happens in every optional, political science, sociology, anthropology. 30 to 40% facts are included in every optional. It is not only in the geography. So, a person who has interest in multidisciplines and their interconnections must opt for the geography. Geography is not like political science and sociology and anthropology. Even anthropology is multidimensional, multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in nature. Any subject which is considered as soft science, like geography, anthropology, they are going to be multi and interdisciplinary in nature. Second, its subject matter is related with man-nature interlinkages and interrelationship. So remember that its subject matter, nearly 50% of the subject matter is derived from natural sciences. Like climatology, subject matter is derived from meteorology, geomorphology from geology, biogeography and environmental geography from environmental science and biology, oceanography from hydrology, economic geography from economics, political geography from political science, social and cultural geography from sociology and anthropology. So remember that, and half of the subject matter is on human and economic geography. So understanding of man-nature interlinkages and interaction are important. So sometimes we are going through the humanities and sometimes we are going through the subject matters derived from the natural and natural sciences. Third, man-nature interrelationship has variation and variability. Variation is change. Variability is degree of change. Understanding of man-nature, interlinkages, interconnections, interaction and their variation over surface of Earth. Variability over surface of Earth are very important. So remember that variation is in terms of both emphasis as well as directional. Change in emphasis and change in direction are very important. Like, I am giving you an example. During P.V. Narasimha Rao, as they came into power in 1992, we had Look East policy. Means enlarging our relationship with Southeast Asian countries and East Asian countries. Now we have Act East policy. This is the change in emphasis. East India Company came as a trader. They become the ruler of India. That was change of direction. A company came for the mercantile trade, became the ruler of India. That is the directional change. Instead of saying look east policy, if I say look west policy, that is directional change. Remember that it happens in the geography also. Tropical cyclones primarily move under influence of the northeast trade in northern hemisphere, southeast trade in southern hemisphere. But sometimes they have recurving in both hemispheres. That is directional change in their movement. Depression is, atmospheric depression is a low pressure system. Cyclone is intensified low pressure system. That is change in the degree and the pressure gradient and the wind velocity, cloud cover, intensity of rainfall. So remember that changes are of two types. These are very important. First is change in emphasis, change in degree and change in direction. We need to remember. Fourth is understanding of scale is very important. Scale is of two types, geographical and temporal. Temporal means time. If I am saying large, if we are covering a large area, so time is going to be also a long duration. A large area geographically cannot be studied in a shorter duration of time. If the optional written, means civil services mains written is of 1750 marks and I say you कि within 6 months I am going to teach you in such a way that you will easily qualify civil service. I am going to speak nonsense. And this nonsense is there in this coaching market and it is going through. None of the person can teach in 6 months entire syllabus of the civil services mains. So many sections and subsections are there in 4 papers. So many sections and subsections are there in the essay too. So many sections and subsections are there in the first paper of a given optional and second paper of a given option. It takes time. That is why I say that most of the students are guided by societal fantasy and imagination. And there are previously qualified students, they are giving fire to it. They come to the coaching centers and they speak nonsense. They studied 1 year and they have qualified. None of the person can qualify in 1 year. They must be preparing since long. That is the time of 1 year they have given their maximum and qualified. They had advantage of the early move. Some of the students had started their preparation while they were graduating. So remember that entire duration of preparation we must keep into mind. We have a tendency which is fallacious, of course, which is erroneous, of course, to analyze things on the basis of the peak value and the end value, rather than going for the entire time and distance. In the peak time of the examination, once examination is closed, people study 14 to 15 hours. A person cannot study 14 to 15 hours throughout the year. Throughout the year, it is 7 to 8 hours average every day, with the qualitative time spending with the studies. Don't get fooled by those societal imagination and fantasy. Overgeneralized, oversimplified answers. Shall I go ahead? So understanding of scale is very important. Like you study Davis cycle of erosion. So remember that the time span covered by Davis cycle of erosion is also going to be long. It is not going to be short because it covers larger area. If the geographical distance is long, the time to travel is also going to be long. Medium. If this is in geography, it is also called macro. Large is called macro. Medium size is called meso. So time cover is also going to be medium. And if it is short, small area, geographically if it is small, that is called micro. So time taken is going to be short, like dynamic equilibrium theory in geomorphology. It discusses shorter duration of geomorphological phenomena and the landforms. So the time taken is also going to be shorter. So understanding of scale is very important. This understanding of scale was neglected by Napoleon, neglected by Hitler while they attacked Russia. Such a huge territory with harsh geographical conditions, environmental conditions and climatic conditions, and they were defeated. Their whole army was routed. That is why understanding of geography, in understanding of geography and history, scale is very important, because things are compared at a given scale itself. We can take a geospatial theory which is covering large area. It cannot be studied in a shorter duration of time. That is erroneous. That is wrong. Next, static and fluid. Static aspect of geography and fluid aspect of geography, both are important. That is why static provides us standard, reference, rigidity, structure. Like if we compare, static is our anatomy. Fluid is something which is dynamic, changing. That is equivalent to physiology, function. Static aspect of caste, dynamic aspect of caste. Both are important. And nothing is completely static, nothing is completely dynamic. Everything is mix of both with the changing ratio and variations. In the market, sometimes kind of air is that this year in civil services prelims, questions are going to be on the dynamic, current and contemporary, and moreover the questions are related with the static. So we are not going to ignore any aspect, static or dynamic. Like second paper is application of the first paper. More we understand first paper, more we are going to have understanding, better we are going to understanding in second paper. Tropical cyclones are also there in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. They are also there in the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean Sea. They are also there in South China Sea. So this understanding of the static as well as fluid aspect of geography. Some people only concentrate on static, ignore the fluid aspect. Some people completely concentrate on the fluid, ignore the static. Remember that if we understand structure, then we can understand the function. That is why answer writing in civil services must be complying the structural functional approach. That is the approach we have in geography as well as in natural sciences as well as in other social sciences too. Structural functional approach. That is why in geography there is a term used, continuity with change. If there is urban landscape, urban and industrial landscape, if it travel towards rural and agricultural areas, there is going to be continuity and change. Like if we are traveling for urban and industrial areas, landscape, then we have rural-urban fringe. On urban side we have urban fringe, on rural side we have rural-urban fringe, mixed with the mixed landscape. And then we have agricultural and rural landscape. This kind of topics are there. So these are the aspects we are going to concentrate into the geography. Any question you people want to ask? Otherwise, we are going to start with the geography itself. Any question related with the preparation? So my 2 instructions are there, 3 instructions are there. By Savinder Singh, Physical Geography. It is a standard book on the physical geography of the 5 sections of the first paper, up to the graduation and master's level. Some of the aspects of the climatology, geomorphology will be not covered. There I will give you the specific topics. In the class itself will be taught with the length and the depth. Then PYQ, that covers both syllabus as well as previous year's questions on different sections of the geography. And one more is Atlas. These 3 things. See, this is what you people do. Today class has started and you are asking how much time there will be sufficient to complete the entire syllabus. Today you have started and you are in hurry. And that is why students are cheated by coaching wala. They will say 3.5 months. Many people will say 2 months. Nearly it will take 5 to 5.5 months, not less than that, with 15 to 18 hours per week. Because this is the most difficult task, covering PYQ. Syllabus can be taught in 3 months, but syllabus with the PYQ cannot be taught in 3 months. Nobody can teach, and nobody teaches in geography with the PYQ. Even if they are offering PYQ, they will offer you in 3 sections. First, syllabus. You pay 50 to 60,000 for covering the syllabus. Then 20 to 25,000 covering the PYQs. 20 to 30,000 covering the, giving the test series. This is the economy of the coaching centers. Nobody in this coaching center comes with this in the classroom. You can open the lectures of the other teachers. They are coming with the syllabus and the PYQs in the class, asking their students to buy syllabus and PYQ. They are reading the instructions given by UPSC and instructions given by them. Don't force an honest teacher to become dishonest. So, coverage of the syllabus also include quality. Quantity is not detached with the quality. You need to score 300 marks out of 500 marks to qualify into civil services with the high ranks. That is 60%. If I cover 80 to 90% of the syllabus with a given standard and the quality, then you will be able to score this 300 out of the 500 marks, nearly 60% and above. It is not a joke. Syllabus of the any optional subject now covers the syllabus of the graduation, that is of honors, as well as the masters. Many people of your batch itself, they will be coming from the best of the DU colleges. And you ask them, their teachers have asked these parts of the syllabus. And remember that, don't consider yourself weak. That is new Vishal publication, Civil Services Main Examination, new Vishal publication. Any section of the GS or subsection of the GS you study, you need to have the PYQ before you. Syllabus does not give you length, width, knowledge on length, width and depth of the content. Yeah, a given topic. There could be multiple dimensions on a given topic. Those dimensions we can decipher, we can read by going through the PYQs. You are taking coaching from other centers too. Yeah, have you taken coaching from other centers? PYQ is very important and it takes time. Understanding it facilitates you to understand the context, situations, conditions in which questions are asked. Take 5 minutes break and then we'll start with the syllabus and the PYQ. Take 5 minutes break. GC Leong do not cover even 10% of the geography optional syllabus. You are taking optional या GS? GC Leong is for the GS, that is for the prelims. Now the optional subject will start. You cannot bank on GC Leong. GC Leong is a very basic book. GC Leong is now even not sufficient for the geography GS mains. Even not for the prelims GS geography. The syllabus of a given optional now covers both BA या BSc honors plus some of the sections from the masters, first year and the second year. And never ask oversimplified and overgeneralized answers. I know that very simplified, very generalized answers are easier to understood. That is why students like those teachers which give very simplified and very generalized answers. I don't want to keep you in any dilemma. If you are in civil services, you prepare your mind to work hard. And while you people are reading and studying from me, one class note must be for the geography optional and bring one diary. On diary, write down the important instructions and the basic concepts and their explanations. Like in answer writing, we do not need to write what is conduction. We need to include just the term conduction, convection, radiation. But if you do not understand the basics, I will give you the proper definition of the conduction and you can write into the diary. Those instructions are very important. That is the convention I follow. अभी नहीं. That will start. WhatsApp group या Telegram group will start. I'll ask them to. Means everything was, with the movement and all the death of the students. Somehow they are starting the class. Remember that we are starting with the first paper, first section. Which covers half of the syllabus of first paper. And you know that the first paper is of 250 marks and first section of the first paper is on physical geography. Including the sections like climatology, geomorphology, oceanography, biogeography and environmental geography. Remember that those people who are good at the first section, they can cover out of 100 marks, out of 250 marks, 100 marks to 150 marks. Most of the students from the science background, engineering background, they prefer to write out of 5 questions, 3 questions from the first section of the first paper, because that is considered their strength. So remember that, but that could be sometimes very risky too. Sometimes questions are easier from human and economic geography and sometimes out of syllabus, sometimes very random in the first section of the first paper from physical geography. So we are going to prepare of the first paper in a very balanced manner. Okay na? So that if need arise, we can have a ratio of 100 marks from the first section to the 150 marks from the second section. Yeah, if situations are right in your favor, 150 marks out of 250 marks from the first section and 100 marks from the second section. So this is going to be the range of variation. Like I have already taught you, first and the fifth question are compulsory. Now, out of rest 3, you can solve 2 questions from the first section, 1 question from the first section, and then vice versa from the second section. So, with 2 questions we are solving, we are covering 100 marks out of 250 marks in the first section. And if we are solving 3 questions, first question is of course compulsory, we are covering 150 marks out of 250 marks from the first section. Then if we are covering 100 marks, then we need to cover 150 marks from the second section of the first paper. And if we are covering 150 marks from the first section of the first paper, then we need to cover 100 marks from the second section of the first paper. So these are the permutations and combinations we need to know. But in the classroom, and remember that in the first paper, we are going to cover nearly 99% of the syllabus. First paper will be completely covered into the class because it is theoretical with overemphasis on the rules and the theories. Remember that second paper, if you have done well in the first paper, is the application and the usage of the first paper into the Indian situation, condition and the context. So, in the second paper, that is going to be extensive. But remember that it is rewarding too, because more you know about the geography of India, more you know about the civil services and different context and the different sections. Because everything in the civil services is about understanding of India in its surrounding context and the global context. So, second paper, we are going to cover nearly 80% into the classroom. This way, we are going to cover nearly 90% of the syllabus into the class. The rest of the things are like reading. On Indian geography, you keep on reading newspapers, current and contemporary news on India and related sections and subsections, and keep adding up. Some books are also there, some magazines are also there, like Kurukshetra, Yojana, which give important articles on India. Indian planning, Indian demography, Indian population, Indian settlement, landslides, environmental conditions. So this way you can add on your knowledge. That is the dynamic aspect of Indian geography. So in the classroom, first paper is going to be nearly covered, syllabus by syllabus and PYQs. Second is on Indian geography, that is the application of the first paper. We are going to cover nearly 80% of the second paper. Some of the sections of the second paper are highly dynamic. You have to keep adding on quantity and the quality to master yourself into the second paper. I am going to give you the right facts, right conditions and right situations into the class. Now, in the first paper, we are going to start with the climatology and geomorphology. These two are the core sections in the first section of the first paper, because oceanography, biogeography and environmental geography are related with application and usage of concepts, principles and theories and ideas of climatology and geomorphology. Remember that even in geomorphology, geomorphological landscape, climate, atmospheric conditions and weather play very important role. So if we start with the geomorphology, without understanding of climatology, understanding of geomorphological landscape is going to be very difficult. So I am starting with the climatology, then I will go to the geomorphology, and then we are going to cover rest of the three sections, oceanography, biogeography and environmental geography, which are dependent on our understanding on climatology and geomorphology. This is how we are going to prepare. It is understood? So we are starting with the climatology. Once the first section is over, then we will enter into the second section, and I will give you the syllabus of the second section before you. In climatology, I am giving you syllabus and PYQs of today, tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Then I will explain in length the rest of the syllabus. We are going to start with heat budget. Then atmospheric composition and structure, and then global distribution of temperature and factors controlling global distribution of temperature. These three topics are on temperature, understanding heat budget of Earth, atmospheric composition and structure, and global distribution of temperature, and the factors controlling global distribution of temperature. These are the topics we are going to cover for 3 days, for today and tomorrow, day after tomorrow, depending on our speed and our understanding. Now, first topic is heat budget. So remember that budget includes Budget is reflection of balance. Yeah, equilibrium. Between what? Inflowing energy and outflowing energy. And remember that heat is a form of energy itself. Heat is a form of energy itself. In which respect? Of Earth. And budget is always represented over a duration of time. Remember that. So we are going to study annual heat budget. While we cover, this is the note you need to write somewhere else. While we are covering climatology and geomorphology, we need to keep in mind, keep into context these two laws of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics, write it down. First law of thermodynamics. In a system of constant mass, energy is neither created nor destroyed. One form of energy is changed into another form of energy. This is going to be applied for these topics. And second law of thermodynamics, energy is consumed. In the process of work done by a given system. Energy is consumed in the process of work done by a given system. Like if there is a system in which energy is flowing, getting converted from one form to the another form. So energy is going to be consumed. Means consumption of energy takes place while one form of energy is changing into another form of energy. Because to change one form of energy into another form of energy, a system needs to work. And in the work done by a given system, energy is consumed. So ideal condition is one form of energy changing into another form of energy in a given system of constant mass. But what is the real situation? While the one form of energy is changing into another form of energy in a given system, okay na? So work has to be done, and in this work done by a given system to convert one form of energy into another form of energy, energy is consumed. Second law of thermodynamics will come into while we are going to study the tricellular model. So now we are studying annual heat budget of Earth. So that is a balance or equilibrium between inflowing energy. What is the form of inflowing energy? That is called inflowing short wave solar insolation. I am going to represent it. Outflowing energy, that is energy outflowing from atmosphere of Earth to outer space. Atmosphere of Earth to outer space. And that is in form of long wave terrestrial radiation. Radiation generated by Earth through heating by incoming solar insolation is called terrestrial radiation. That is going to be in form of longer wavelength. So these two terms are important: inflowing short wave solar insolation and outflowing terrestrial radiation, which is in form of longer wavelength, must be on your tips. So I am giving you annual heat budget of Earth definition. The annual balance between, annual equilibrium between inflowing short wave solar insolation and outflowing long wave terrestrial radiation of Earth is called annual heat budget of Earth. I am repeating, annual balance, annual equilibrium between inflowing short wave solar insolation and outflowing long wave terrestrial radiation is described as annual heat budget of Earth. Now question arises, how this heat budget is maintained? Now this is Earth's surface. This is our atmospheric top. And this is sun. The energy outflowing from sun is described as solar radiation. Remember that. Energy outflowing from sun is described as solar radiation. And remember that radiation does not require medium to travel. It is in form of wave. So energy outflowing from sun into the solar system, towards Earth, in the context of Earth, of course, is described as solar radiation. solar radiation penetrating through atmospheric top या passing through atmospheric top towards earth is described as incoming shortwave solar insolation. Incoming shortwave solar insolation. So there is a difference in solar radiation and solar insolation. Energy outflowing from sun in the form of wave is described as solar radiation. Don't interchange. In geography, contextual understanding is very important. The solar radiation penetrating through atmospheric top flowing towards earth is described as incoming shortwave solar insolation. Now, if annual incoming shortwave solar insolation at atmospheric top is of 100 units, because we have to show budgets. We can take joule also, we can take calorie also, we can take units also. Best is to take units. So, incoming shortwave solar insolation at atmospheric top is of 100 units. Then, out of these 100 units, 35 units are reflected to outer space. In which 27 units are contributed by clouds. You know that in the process of reflection, wavelength of a radiation does not change. 6 units by dust particulates and suspended particulates in the atmosphere, and 2 units by ice caps and glaciers on surface of Earth. Means these 35 units are neither absorbed by atmosphere nor absorbed by surface of Earth. These are reflected back to outer space. So 27 units are reflected by clouds, 6 units by dust and suspended particulates in the atmosphere, and 2 units by ice caps and glaciers on surface of Earth. So how much is reflected? (35 units). These 35 units are described as reflectivity of Earth. या albedo of Earth. Reflectivity या albedo. Technical term is albedo. Remember that so far no question is based on heat budget, but it is a very basic topic and very primary topic, and a short note in the future is possible. That short note could be of 10 marks or 15 marks. Means that should be ranging from 150 words to 250 words. So, if we consider annual incoming shortwave solar insolation at atmospheric top is of 100 units, 35 units are reflected back to outer space without getting absorbed either by atmosphere या surface of Earth. In these 35 units, 25 units are reflected from the atmospheric clouds, 6 units by dust and suspended particulates into the atmosphere, and 2 units by ice caps and glaciers. So these 35 units are not getting absorbed by either atmosphere or surface of Earth. That phenomena is known as reflectivity or albedo of Earth. Remember that if reflectivity or albedo of Earth increases, the Earth is going to be cool, and if decreases, Earth is going to be warmer. So reflectivity of Earth play important role in global warming or global cooling. If the reflectivity increases or albedo increases, Earth will be dynamic towards moving towards global cooling, and if reflectivity of Earth declines, Earth will be going towards global warming. Later on, these aspects are going to become in global warming and all that, because it is a very fundamental topic. Now, how much is left of incoming shortwave solar insolation? (65 units). How much are there with us? 65 units. So I am giving another diagram so that we can have, like, it was incoming shortwave solar insolation with 100 units. (35 units are reflected back to outer space. This much I have covered in detail. How much is left? 65 units. 65 units are absorbed. (65 units of annual incoming shortwave solar insolation. Annual incoming shortwave solar insolation are absorbed. Out of 65 units, 14 units are absorbed by atmosphere. Out of 65 units, 14 units are absorbed by atmosphere, and 51 units are absorbed by surface of Earth, which includes both land and as well as water surface. I am saying surface. These 51 units, 14 units are absorbed by atmosphere and 51 units are absorbed by surface of Earth. Surface of Earth includes both land and as well as water surface. That is source of surface heating. And remember that here we are following first law of thermodynamics. So solar insolation absorbed by surface is source of surface heating. Means one form of energy is changing into another form of energy. Radiation is changing into heat. And remember that concentration of heat is known as temperature. Concentration of heat is indicated by phenomena known as temperature. So if concentration of heat declines, temperature declines. If concentration of heat increases, temperature increases. So temperature could be changed in two ways. By allowing inflow of heat, by allowing outflow of heat. By allowing inflow of heat, temperature increases into a system. By allowing outflow of heat from a given system, temperature declines. And second, changing the concentration of heat. If the concentration of heat is reduced by increasing the volume of the system, temperature declines. If the concentration of heat is increased by reducing the volume of the system, then temperature increases. So temperature could be changed in two ways. By allowing inflow or outflow of heat in a given system, from a given system, changing the volume of the system by keeping the heat constant. Getting this thing? Remember that 51 units of incoming shortwave solar insolation absorbed by surface is source of surface heating. Now this surface heating, out of these 51 units of surface heating, (17) units directly go to outer space. Directly go to outer space. This is described as radiation window of Earth. Radiation window of Earth. Out of 51 units of surface heating, 17 units in form of the terrestrial radiation directly go to outer space. And that 17 units are described as radiation window of Earth. Means that is not getting absorbed by atmosphere. Now how much is left? 34 units. 34 units out of 51 units are involved in atmospheric heating. So which is main source of atmospheric heating? Surface heating. Now out of 100 units of incoming shortwave solar insolation, now atmosphere contains 48 units. So which is contributing more into atmospheric heating? Incoming shortwave solar insolation or surface heating? Surface heating. That is why largely it is said, normally it is said, dominantly it is said that surface heating is source of atmospheric heating. Atmosphere is not largely heated by incoming shortwave solar insolation, largely it is heated by surface heating. More is the surface heating, greater is going to be atmospheric heating. Less is surface heating, lesser is going to be atmospheric heating. Had been incoming shortwave solar insolation responsible for atmospheric heating, so there must have been high temperature on Mount Everest and Kanchenjunga. It could be understood by examples also. With altitude, temperature declines. So now atmosphere contains 48 units. 14 units by incoming shortwave solar insolation and 34 units contributed by surface heating. These three processes are involved in surface to atmospheric heating. Conduction from surface to atmosphere, this contributes 6 units. Conduction is intermolecular transfer of heat. Convection, that is 9 units. Convection is upward and outward flow of hot and lighter fluid. Atmosphere is fluid. It is gaseous state of matter. How much is rest? Then latent heat of vaporization, that is 19 units. So together they contribute 34 units. Conduction, intermolecular transfer of heat, out of 34 units, contributing 6 units. Convection, that is upward and outward flow of hot and lighter fluid, that is 9 units. And latent heat of vaporization, as you know that water from the liquid state to the gaseous state is changing. It contains latent heat, a kind of heat which is in latent form, that becomes sensible once vapor state of water is changed into liquid state of water. That becomes the sensible. Without changing of temperature, if the state of water is changed from the liquid to the gaseous state, that gaseous state of water, that is also called water vapor, contains a form of energy, a form of heat which is in form of latent. So this is the breaking units of 34 units which are involved into atmospheric heating through the surface heating. Conduction is 6 units, convection is 9 units, latent heat of vaporization 19 units. So which is most important form of surface heating, surface to atmospheric heating? Latent heat of vaporization. Remember that this is the source of massive energy transfer from surface to atmosphere, and it is source of, later on we are going to study, of cyclonic phenomena. Most turbulent state of atmospheric condition is generated by transfer of latent heat from surface to the atmosphere. Now, these 48 units from atmosphere are transferred to the outer space. Transferred to the outer space in form of long wave terrestrial radiation. So now, how much in total energy is moving from Earth to the outer space? 65 units. 17 units directly from surface to outer space and 48 units from atmosphere to the outer space. This way balance is maintained. This is described as annual heat budget of the Earth. Means inflowing energy is equal to the inflowing energy from Sun to Earth is equal to the outflowing energy from Earth to outer space in a given duration of time, that is annual, that is of 1 year. It is understood? I am giving you a recap. Energy outflowing from Sun is described as solar radiation. Solar radiation hitting at atmospheric top, penetrating through the atmospheric top to atmosphere is described as incoming shortwave solar insolation. If annual incoming shortwave solar insolation at atmospheric top is of 100 units, so remember that I have said out of 100 units, 35 units are reflected back directly to outer space, in which 27 units are contributed by clouds, 6 units by dust particles. Process is called scattering of incoming shortwave solar insolation, and 2 units by ice caps and glaciers. So these 35 units are described as reflectivity of Earth या albedo of Earth. Now 65 units are absorbed by Earth and its different parts. Out of 65 units, 48 units are absorbed by atmosphere and 51 units are absorbed by surface of Earth, that is source of the surface heating. Means one form of energy is changing into another form of energy into an ideal condition. Now out of 51 units, 17 units are directly transported to outer space. That is described as radiation window of Earth. Now 34 units are involved in atmospheric heating. Out of 34 units, conduction is 6 units, convection is 9 units, latent heat of vaporization 19 units. So atmospheric heating is contributed by 48 units. 14 units by incoming shortwave solar insolation and 34 units by surface heating. These 48 units over the period of time are transported to outer space in form of long wave terrestrial radiation. This way balance is maintained. Remember that if radiation window is reduced, Earth will go for heating. If radiation window again increases, Earth will go for the cooling. If surface to atmospheric heating increases, atmosphere of Earth will go for the heating. If surface heating to atmospheric heating declines, atmosphere of Earth will go for the cooling. This way things could dynamically change. So remember that many aspects play important role in maintaining balance. Okay na? Reflectivity, radiation window, heat transported from surface to atmosphere, ability of atmosphere to hold heat. So these factors play important role in changing surface and atmospheric temperature over period of time. These variables are important. In geography, we do not say infrared, we say long wave terrestrial radiation. Geography has its own terminology, like incoming shortwave solar insolation, long wave terrestrial radiation. These are the terminologies used in the geography. Of course, heating is generated by infrared, but in geography we use these terminologies. Terminologies are very important. Every subject has their specific contextual, situational and conditional terminology. Another aspect of the heat budget of Earth is latitudinal heat budget. Latitudinal heat budget. You know that we have latitudes extending from 90 degree north to 90 degree south. This is the latitudinal extent on surface of Earth. And latitudes are always shown on the x-axis. In geography, it is convention. Latitudes are never shown on y-axis. Latitudes are always indicated on x-axis. This is 40 degree north, this is 40 degree south. So you know that we have latitudinal zone of heat surplus and heat deficit. Heat surplus occurs from 40 degree north to 40 degrees south. Latitudinal zone of 40 degree north to 40 degree south. We can write like this, 0 to 40 degree. If we are writing like this, that means that 40 degree extending in either hemisphere, from 0 to 40 degree north and 0 to 40 degree south. Forty degree north to 40 degree south, we have heat surplus. Why? Incoming short wave solar insolation exceed outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation. The inflow of energy exceed outflow of energy, surface and atmosphere. So it is heat surplus zone. And in high latitudes from 40 degree to 90 degree, means 40 degree north to 90 degree north, 40 degree south to 90 degree south, we have heat deficit. This zone is of heat deficit. Why? Outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation exceed incoming short wave solar insolation. So 40 degree north, 0 to 40 degree north, 0 to 40 degree south, annual, of course time is annual. Annual incoming short wave solar insolation exceed outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation. So if inflow of heat exceed outflow of heat, inflow of energy exceed outflow of energy, so there is going to be heat surplus. So here we have heat surplus. This is net radiation. Means from 40 degree north to 40 degree south, this graph is showing net radiation. Net radiation is balance between incoming short wave solar insolation and outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation in a duration of time. Here the time duration is annual. And from 40 degree north to 90 degree north, 40 degree south to 90 degree south, outgoing long wave terrestrial radiation means from Earth to outer space exceed incoming short wave solar insolation from sun to Earth. So it is heat deficit zone. So remember that heat always flow (40 degree north to North Pole and 40 degree south to South Pole, because Earth has fluids in form of water and oceanic surface, in form of atmosphere. So heat has to be transported if Earth is taken as a unified system from the low latitudes to high latitudes. So remember that from low latitudes to high latitudes we have flow of warm oceanic currents and the winds known as westerlies. Warm oceanic currents and winds known as westerlies. So these two systems, warm oceanic currents and the westerlies, are involved in transporting heat from low latitudes to high latitudes. This way balance is maintained. Warm oceanic currents, the oceanic currents means oceanic surface flow, which is flowing from low latitudes to high latitudes, transport heat from low latitudes to high latitudes because it is heat surplus zone. And the winds flowing from low latitudes to high latitudes are known as westerlies. They are transporting heat from low latitudes to high latitudes. This way balance is maintained between low latitudes and high latitudes by transporting surplus heat of low latitudes to the high latitude. Had not been this scenario, this would have been rise in the concentration of heat in low latitudes. There is growing deficiency of heat in the high latitudes. So there would have been rise in temperature over the years in the low latitudes, decline in temperature over the years in high latitude, but the balance is maintained, okay na, by transporting heat from low latitudes to high latitudes through the fluids known as warm oceanic currents and westerlies. This way latitudinal heat budget is maintained. So this is all on heat budget of the earth. There are two components, annual heat budget of earth and latitudinal heat budget of earth. Now question arises, which is transporting heat more, westerlies or oceanic currents? 70% heat, since westerlies are winds, they are more dynamic, they are more fluid, they are transporting nearly 70% of heat from low latitudes to high latitudes, and warm oceanic currents transport 30% of heat from low latitudes to high latitudes. This is the topic. There was a question slightly related with this topic in recent years. सारी क्वेश्चन है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 51 हो गए, अच्छा लिख देना. क्वेश्चन नंबर 50. I was talking about contextual terminology in geography. See, the question is differentiate between insolation and temperature and explain anomalous temperature. 2016, 150 words. This could be a subpart of the first question itself. First question is related with the 5 subparts of short notes. 10 marks, 150 words. Shall I answer this question? First part, differentiate between insolation and temperature and explain anomalous temperature. People have written question. Shall I answer? Write down answer. Energy outflowing from sun which is a star, which is a and only star in our solar system is known as solar radiation. Radiation is a form of energy which does not require medium to pass through. As it is a wave form of energy. So you can make this diagram. This is sun, which is only star, a star and only star in solar system. The energy outflowing is known as solar radiation. And that is a wave form of energy. And wave form of energy does not require a medium to pass through. Now, insolation. Solar radiation striking at atmospheric top entering into Earth and passing through atmospheric system towards surface of Earth is described as solar insolation. Is described as solar insolation. So there is a difference between solar radiation and solar insolation. Use right terminology that maximizes your marks. Without right terminology, if you are writing an answer on social issues, you need to write the right terminology. That terminology will come from the subject known as sociology. Right terminology is very important in social sciences. Getting this thing? Solar insolation is in form of short waves. Atmosphere is largely transparent for incoming shortwave solar insolation. Largely transparent, I said, not completely transparent or completely opaque. Thus, incoming shortwave solar insolation is largely not involved in atmospheric heating. It is clear to you people? Enjoying class? Of course, there was a kind of Christie of Saturn on our classes. Okay, that is called incoming. It is clear? Incoming shortwave solar insolation. Which line I should repeat? I said that incoming shortwave solar atmosphere is largely transparent for incoming shortwave solar insolation. That was the last line. That was the last line. I am repeating. Energy outflowing from sun, which is a and only star in our solar system, is known as solar radiation. It is a wave form of energy which passes through from sun to the outer space. Solar radiation is striking at atmospheric top, penetrating through atmosphere towards surface of Earth, is known as solar insolation. It has shorter wavelength. Atmosphere is largely transparent for incoming shortwave solar insolation. The solar insolation is not involved in largely not involved in atmospheric heating. Shall I go further? Solar insolation absorbed by surface of Earth either by land या oceanic surface या both is source of surface heating, which indicate radiation form of energy changing into form of energy known as heat. Form of heat. Surface heating is source of atmospheric heating. Now, I am coming to addressing answer on temperature. Concentration of heat is described as temperature, indicated by temperature. Thus, temperature is undergoing change. First point, either by receiving heat, allowing outflow of heat, and second, by changing volume, okay. If outflow of heat occurs from high temperature to low temperature, you know that heat temperature is reduced. If inflow of heat occurs from high temperature to low temperature, temperature increases. Again, by changing the volume of the system, we can change the temperature. So, first part is described as thermal processes in geography. You can write bracket में, by allowing inflow या outflow of heat, that is called thermal processes in geography. And second, by changing volume, that is called dynamic processes. In the science, that is called adiabatic processes. Like AC is working on adiabatic processes, because here heat is transported from low temperature to high temperature. So, temperature is indicated by concentration of heat is the representation of temperature. So, if the heat is allowed to outflow from a given system, temperature declines. Allowed to inflow into a system, temperature increases. Yeah, if volume of a system is increased, keeping the heat constant, then temperature declines. If volume of a given system is reduced, by keeping the heat constant, temperature increases. It is clear to you people? Now, anomalous temperature. Anomalous temperature. Now, a term is their anomaly. There is a term known as anomaly. That is also called anomalous. Anomalous का मतलब होता है if there is a standard या reference value, means if there is departure या distance या shift from standard या reference या normal, value, which is generally mean calculated over a longer duration of time. So that departure या distance या shift from standard value या reference value या normal value is described as anomalous condition. In this context, in the context of question it is anomalous temperature. If the shift या departure या distance is positive side of the standard value या reference value या normal value, that is called positive anomaly. And if shift is on negative side of the normal value या standard value या reference value, so that is described as negative anomaly. that is called negative anomaly. Like global warming in current and contemporary scenario is positive anomaly. And global cooling, if occurs, decline in temperature of surface and atmosphere of Earth, so that is called negative anomaly. Like examples of anomalous temperature I am giving you. Periods of glaciation and interglaciation. In geological past, they represent anomalous temperature. During period of glaciation, there was expansion in the size and thickness of glaciers. That was the period of global cooling. Okay, now interglaciation period, the period, geological period of Earth between the ages of glaciation, that is called interglaciation period. There was interglaciation period was a time of melting of glaciers. There was declining size of the glaciers, declining thickness of the glaciers, okay na? Contraction in the glaciers, so that is interglaciation period. So glaciation and interglaciation period represents anomalous temperature of Earth. Excessive cooling या excessive heating of Earth. Now current and contemporary period is of global warming, that is anomalous. This year June was extremely hot in the Great Plains of India, that was anomalous. Temperature was rising up to 50 to 51 degrees centigrade. So if there is rise या fall in temperature of the surface या atmosphere या any part of Earth in respect of a given reference, so that is called anomalous. Okay na? Rise is called positive anomaly and the fall is called negative anomaly. Like here, what is positive anomaly? Interglaciation period. What is negative anomaly? Glaciation period. If ice age is set, Earth will go for negative anomaly. Okay na? If tomorrow ice age is, getting this thing? Second is altitude is also source of anomalous temperature. Like these two places are located at same latitude. One is highland, another is lowland. Like I am giving you example of Sikkim and northern Rajasthan. Both are in the same latitudinal zone. Which is hotter? Rajasthan, low altitude, and Sikkim has high altitude, so it is colder. So anomalous temperature at a given latitude is also produced by presence of highlands and lowlands. Highlands have negative anomaly and lowlands have positive anomaly. If we travel from northern Rajasthan to Sikkim, temperature will decline. And travel from Sikkim to Rajasthan, temperature will increase. So altitude of the landforms also play a role in generating anomalous temperature. Third, distribution of land and water is also source of temperature anomaly. Remember that during summer season, continents have higher temperature compared to the surrounding oceanic surface. Because you know that continental heating and cooling are faster. Heating is also faster during daytime and summer season. Rate of cooling is also faster. And winter season, continents are colder than the surrounding oceanic surface. So, distribution of land and water is also source of anomalous temperature. Two places located at same latitude. One is close to oceanic surface. Another is deep inside continental surface. The place which is deep inside continental surface during the winter season is going to be colder, and during the summer season is going to be hotter. The distribution of land and water are also source of anomalous temperature. Two places, same latitude, okay na? One is deep inside continent, one is close to oceanic surface. During winter season, continental surface is going to be colder, and during summer season, continental surface is going to be hotter. Next, fourth. Inflowing winds and oceanic currents and their thermal properties. Like there are two places at the same latitude. One place is under influence of inflowing warm oceanic currents, या warm winds, या both. It is going to be hotter compared to the place located at the same latitude, but under influence of the cold winds, cold oceanic currents. It is going to have low temperature. So, thermal properties of inflowing winds and oceanic currents also play important role in temperature anomaly. So, these are the conditions producing temperature anomaly. So, what is the definition of anomalous temperature? A state of departure या distance या shift from the standard या reference या normal value is called anomalous temperature. Temperature we have already defined. If the shift is positive, departure is on the positive side of the reference value, या standard value or normal value, that is called positive anomaly. If it is on negative side, so that is called negative anomaly. Anomalous temperature is produced by glaciation and interglaciation period. Glaciation period means global cooling. If the global cooling occurs, expansion in the ice caps and glaciers increases. They become thicker. If interglaciation period occurs, that is the global warming. There is contraction in the size and thickness of the glaciers. Second is altitude. Two places located at the same latitude but of different altitude from the sea level, they are going to have temperature anomaly. Islands are going to be colder compared to the lowlands. Then distribution of land and water. You know that continents have rapid heating and rapid cooling compared to the oceanic surface. So that is also going to present the temperature anomaly. During summer season, continents are hotter compared to the surrounding oceanic surface. During winter season, continents are colder compared to the surrounding oceanic surface. And finally, thermal properties of inflowing winds and oceanic currents. Two places located at the same latitude under influence of hot winds या warm oceanic currents are going to be hotter compared to the place located at the same latitude under influence of inflowing cold oceanic currents and cold winds. So this is our answer. This is how. So remember that connectivity, logical sequencing and consistency, presentation and balance are important. Since I am teaching, I have to explain, I have to I have to speak multiple times a given statement. You remove those repeated statements that will come within 150 words. I am teaching also, now I am explaining. Here conclusion is not required. This question is based on the facts. It is a factual question. Conclusion is not required in every means. In mathematics, right hand side, left hand side is equal to right hand side. You don't write conclusion. In physics, you don't write conclusions. It is part of the natural science, meteorology, climatology. It is a factual. Means temperature anomaly is the fact of life. Fact related with the surface and atmospheric distribution of temperature. And multiple factors are involved in producing anomalous conditions. Like this time, anomalous rainfall is there in the Himalaya, Uttarakhand and Himachal. Anomalous rainfall was there while the waterlogging occurred on the road in front of the Rauj and Bajiram. That was high intensity rainfall. Any unusual condition, that anomalous is also used in sociology, anomalous behavior of the people. If the behavior of the people, the way they interact with the society is not according to the societal norms, societal values, that is called anomalous behavior. You start disrespecting me, your behavior will be called anomalous. I start disrespecting you, I start criticizing you, that will be called anomalous. The anomalous has multiple contexts and situations. Yeah, these kind of questions UPSC is asking out of syllabus. There is no answer in any standard book. That is why you have to come to the class. That is why I ask you to cover this PYQs. That is not written in syllabus. You read climatology, where it is written that anomalous temperature will be asked. Temperature and pressure belts of the world, heat budget of the earth. That is temperature and pressure belts of the earth, means pressure belts are, winds and pressure belts are the next topic. Temperature and heat budget of the world, that is what is given in the syllabus. That is why I'm covering syllabus with the PYQs. Heat budget is there in the syllabus. But these are the drawn conclusions, drawn subject matters from the heat budget. Heat, temperature, insolation, radiation, anomalous temperature. Where is written anomalous temperature? That is why it is very important to cover PYQ. Okay, thank you. It is 5 o'clock. You are not able to write class dictations.